Hey guys, Robin here, and welcome to another movie review. Now last year, as some viewers may know, last May during Made for uh, last May during Made for TV, one of the last movies I covered was the 1981 made for TV movie about the eruption of Mount St. Helens, simply titled St. Helens. And in that same review, I mentioned that the cover for St. Helens looked very similar to the cover of today's movie, Dante's Peak, because this release of St. Helens came out in 1997, same year as St. Helens. So, yeah. Anyways, Mount St. Helens is a 1997 disaster movie directed by Roger Donaldson and starring Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton, famous for playing James Bond and Sarah Connor respectively, and is about the small, near perfect town of Dante's Peak, recently voted second best place to live in the United States, population under 30,000. And that is an award that doesn't stick around for very long, as the nearby mountain and namesake of the town, Dante's Peak, is showing signs of seismic activity and an eruption may be coming. Now, 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 I'm gonna get this right out of the way. Linda Hamilton and Pierce Brosnan, both of them are like on the top of their acting game. Okay, now because like Pierce Brosnan's character, he's overly cautious about pending eruptions due to his fiance unfortunately dying after she was hit in the head with a lava bomb after it punched through the roof of a truck. Um, Even though in real life, if it was coming down fast and hard enough to punch through the metal roof of a pickup truck, it it would have turned her head inside out. That's uh, but that wouldn't have been too emotional. Anyways, now at first, Harry. Now, while the town festival is going on, um, these two backpackers are skinny dipping, and as they're fooling around, all of a sudden, every single bird in the area takes off. They think, something just scared them. And within seconds, the water gets so hot, it really boils them alive. Like the underside, like the sand surface on the bottom of the hot spring turns into like magma, or well, very heated rock. And Rachel's two kids, a boy and a Rachel's two kids, Heather and Graham. I'm pretty sure. They go to the hot springs with Rachel Wando's ex mother-in-law. Rachel Wando, the name of Linda Hamilton's character, with her with Maya Wando's ex mother-in-law, who has a grudge against Rachel because she thinks that her son Brian left town because of him, and the relationship is a bit adversarial. now, now, uh, Harry Dalton, Pierce Brosnan's character, he calls a town meeting during which his boss, Paul Dreyfus, played by Charles Hallahan, who unfortunately died from a heart attack while he was driving 3 months after the movie came out, making this one of his final film, making this one of the last movies that he was ever in. Um, and among the other the crew, among one of them is actually Fazil from True Lies, which is my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And all these characters, they're just kind of there, but they're developed enough to the point where you want to see all of them get out. And now, unlike in most disaster movies, where like for example, in Twister, there's like a rival scientist that's only in it for the money. He really doesn't care about advancing the field of saving lives. He just makes money. And in 2012, there's this guy, I think there was this guy that wanted to like hike the prices to get up on the ark. In Now, if Dante's Peak by the numbers disaster movie, Paul it, Harry's boss Paul would be a complete asshole who just belittles Harry and insults him. However, not in Dante's Peak. However, not in Dante's Peak. The character of Paul Dreyfus is a very reasonable and understanding person who who has the town's best and who who has the best intentions for the town because he tells a similar story about there were signs of an eruption. They put the town on alert. Nothing happened, but the town almost went bankrupt, etc., etc. And later on, when Harry gets a bit like, and when Harry starts to aggressively suggest they put the town on alert, not giving a damn how weak the earthquake was, Paul keeps his cool and manages to stay professional. And so yeah, like all the characters in this film, they are very well written and likable, with the possible exception of Ruth, who is actually based on Harry R. Truman, who Art Carney played in Dante's Peak, in the fact that the mountain is going to blow up, but Ruth doesn't believe any of it, even when the mountain finally does start blowing up. She still she still vehemently denies anything's gonna happen. She wants to stay there. And Rachel's kids, who by the way at the oldest are probably 12, they drive up there in Rachel's car to try and get her. And while Linda, and after fleeing the crumbling town, Harry and Rachel go up to get the kids. Harry and Rachel go up to get the kids, but before they can leave, they their departure from Ruth's cabin is quickly hurried when when lava bursts through the wall and the whole cabin just set on fire. And at this point, special effects. Wow, Dante's Peak has easily the best like special effects, like the most convincing effects of any disaster movie I've ever seen. Like all of the special effects for when Dante's town for the earthquake, like buildings are coming down a freeway overpass collapses, and just like all the effects. like structures getting destroyed, such as buildings, bridges, and even at one point a dam. All the effects are done using very large miniature effects. For example, for the scene where the dam is destroyed, that was a 30-foot tall. That was a 30-foot tall. That was a 30-foot tall miniature dam. And when it came time to film it being destroyed, much like the climax, much like the end of Duel, there was something that they had to get it right the first time, otherwise they would have been screwed. Now they did get it done the first time, and now the scene with the bridge, the National Guard and most of the earthquake, most of the volcano surveillance crew are all packed into these Humvees, and Paul is driving a Dodge Ram van. Now, that entire scene, minus the parts that are filmed from inside the vehicles, well, maybe, but minus the parts where characters actually get out, most of that scene was filmed using quarter scale miniatures. Now, can't really explain quarter scale. Uh, using quarter scale miniatures that are really, really convincing. I mean, like, it actually looks like they destroyed a legit bridge. All of the destruction in Dante's Peak, minus one or two shots with obvious model cars, all of the destruction looks real. From the friggin' earthquake, from buildings in the town collapsing during an earthquake, from the freeway collapsing, and the pyroclastic cloud at the end just destroying the entire town like a natural. It's pretty much the natural equivalent of an atomic bomb. It's just incredible. However, there is one bit where the steeple of a church collapses and crushes a school bus, and you can kind of tell that it wasn't, and you can kind of tell that it was just a steeple that was built for the movie, because like it kind of collapses and you see that the inside it's just wood, it's just sheets and planks of wood. But other than that, like this movie, like I mean, like the special effects for me make this entire film, the great characters, the tense writing. I mean, my God, there are so many scenes in this movie where you think the characters are gonna die, where you legitimately think, okay, this is it. These characters are gonna die. Like this movie just has you on the edge of your seat, totally invested, and and this was written by Larry Boehm, who earlier the previous year wrote the movie Daylight, and oh god, one of the guys, and I think part of what makes the movie so great is that um Pierce Brosnan isn't the only James Bond alumni in this movie. So yeah, someone person saying it, I can't remember the name or what they did in the James Bond movies, but they managed to bring like the excitement and tension from the James Bond movies into Dante's Peak. Now, Dante's Peak was heavily inspired by the events of Mount St. Helens. In fact, some scenes of the movie actually were filmed at Mount St. Helens. And at the end of the film, there's a shot of Dante's Peak post eruption that looks very similar to how Mount St. Helens looked after its grand eruption back in 1980. And so yes, I highly recommend Dante's Peak. It is on Netflix right now, and even in HD quality, the special effects are still incredible. Are still incredible. So yeah, I highly recommend Dante's Peak. Easily one of the best disaster movies ever made. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all soon in the near future. Peace.